Grand Tour remains a Grand Tour. And it's an effort of 3 weeks. And if you think that the efforts you do in week 1 don't come with a price, then you don't understand anything about cycling. I'm sorry I have to say it, but that's the way it is.
Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus. I'm Spencer Martin. I'm here with Johan Bruyneel. We are talking about stage 16 of the Giro d'Italia before predicting tomorrow's stage 17. Before we get into that, though, let's take a quick break to highlight our partners for the show. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by NordVPN. No doubt you've heard of VPNs, but what are they? Well, a VPN is a service that helps protect your internet connection and privacy online. VPNs and create an encrypted tunnel for your data, protect your online identity, and hide your IP address. This allows you to use publicly available Wi-Fi hotspots safely while logging into sensitive portals. But what else does it allow you to do? Well, it allows you to mask where you're browsing from. What does this allow you to do? It allows you to watch whatever content you want, no matter where you are in the world. So, as you saw today, if you watched the Giro d'Italia, one of the best stages in modern Giro history. And what did we enjoy? We enjoyed the wonderful TNT sports coverage. You had Adam Blythe on the moto giving us the Primož Roglič and Richard Carapaz crash before anyone else had it. We had Orla Shin and we in studio. We had fantastic announcers with Rob Hatch and Robbie McEwen, but you're going to lose them for the tour. Well, if you really want to keep them, you could look into NordVPN. They're easy to use. It's an incredibly easy to use service. I cannot stress how easy this is. I use it all the time, almost for every race. You just download the app, connect in one click, and you are online wherever you want to be. From 7,500 servers in 118 different countries, you can change your virtual location easily. It has an amazing speed. It's one of the fastest VPNs out there, and it can be used on 10 different devices. So you can be watching on your TV. You can have a race on your laptop, on your phone. And you don't really have to understand how VPN works. I think a lot of people get tripped up with that. All you have to do is download NordVPN, turn it on, and you're good to go. You can browse from wherever you want in the world and get your exclusive NordVPN deal here at nordvpn.com/themove. It's risk-free with this 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes, or just go to nordvpn.com/themove to activate it right now. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by OneSkin. Dry skin and deep wrinkles, these are just a few of the visible signs of aging, something today's sponsor, OneSkin, knows all about. I'm not overly concerned with aesthetics, but if you're out there riding a lot, like you saw at the Giro today with the rain, the sun, it's just beating on you, you're getting hammered by the road spray, your skin is going to age faster than someone who isn't riding a lot. But luckily, you have OneSkin, and the OS1 peptide in all of their products is scientifically proven to decrease lines and wrinkles, boost hydration, and help with the thinning skin that often comes with age. And don't just take my word for it. They've got over 4,000 five-star reviews for their full line of face, body, sun, and travel-size products. You're going to want all of those if you're into riding, because you might be flying. You don't want to check a bag. So their travel-size products can take care of it for you. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off your order using code THEMOVE at oneskin.co. That's 15% off using code THEMOVE at oneskin.co. That's ONESKIN.co using code THEMOVE. All right, let's get into the show. All right, Johan, so stage 16 just wrapped up. Christian Scaroni from XDS Astana won. Lorenzo Fortunato was teammate second, but behind them was absolute GC chaos. Like, we knew it was going to be an important GC day because kind of the first mountain stage, you would say. I did not expect this, though. It starts off cold, rainy mountain day. UAE lets the gap go out to the breakaway really far. There's some jostling. Maybe Ineos is going to pull it back to contest the stage. But Primož Roglič, Richard Carapaz crash. Primož Roglič goes home. Not even quite sure why he started the stage, since he couldn't ride on the rest day. Never a good sign. Later in the stage, Egan Bernal crashes. Ineos comes off the front. UAE goes to the front. Kind of interesting. Maybe just keeping things under control. They get to the second to last climb, though, where this was a brutally hard climb. 12 kilometers long, 8.3% average. EF gets to the front, starts pacing. Juan Ayuso, who had been back to the team car and kind of tailed off on an earlier climb, is officially dropped. Here he's sitting very far back. You're like, this isn't right. He's dropped. Egan Bernal dropped, catches back on. Richard Carapaz looks not good. I think, EF's messed up here. Well, they get to the final climb, which is extremely long, like 18 kilometers long. Not so steep at the bottom, and by not so steep, I mean 7 to 8%, which is still pretty hard. Wout van Aert, who's been in the breakaway, is caught, reeled in, starts pacing on the front for Simon Yates. If it looked hard, it was hard because he was pacing at 510 watts average for 10 minutes. That's a pretty good little lead out. He pulls off, but he's been pulling so hard that stuff starts to kind of unravel at this point. Giulio Pellizzari attacks because Rafa Majka comes to take over for UAE. He can't keep up the same pace. Wout van Aert's been riding at Pellizzari from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, now given freedom because Roglič has crashed out, gets a little gap. And then stuff gets interesting. Simon Yates attacks, pulls a little group with himself and Richard Carapaz free. Derek Gee tailed off, but then Carapaz, smart man, knows how to race. He waits about a kilometer. Yates is stuck on the front. Carapaz goes to the opposite side of the road, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. Attacks over there. Yates hesitates, probably tired from that attack he just did. And Derek Gee had just caught up to them. He responds, but he can't close the gap right away. So Gee's kind of stuck in the middle. Yates still has Isaac Del Toro on his wheel. Like within 2K though, Richard Carapaz almost has a minute on him. Eventually, 3.7 kilometers to go, Isaac Del Toro dropped. He had been swinging. It wasn't completely shocking. I thought he was going to melt down, but he actually holds the gap pretty well. By the finish line, the two XDS Astana riders finish, and then Giulio Pellizzari, who started the final climb minutes behind these leaders, is only 55 seconds back. Like, would have caught them if it was any longer. Richard Carapaz is 15 seconds behind him. Derek Gee, 13 seconds behind Carapaz. And when all said and done, Simon Yates loses 42 seconds on Richard Carapaz. Damiano Caruso loses 121, who's now moved up into the top 5. Isaac Del Toro loses 136 on Carapaz, retains the race lead, though, by 26 seconds over Simon Yates, 31 seconds over Richard Carapaz, 1 minute, 31 seconds on Derek Gee, 2 minutes, 40 over Damiano Caruso. Egan Bernal loses time. Michael Storer moves into 7th place overall. Antonio Tiberi loses time. Giulio Pellizzari moves into 9th overall, 436 back. Adam Yates in 10th at 508 back. I don't know how significant that will be. But Johan, a lot happened today. What was your initial takeaway?
Yeah, well, we also need to add a part of the crash of Roglič. Josh Starling crashed and is out. And especially Martinelli from VF. That was a scary crash. He went down, over the rails, down. Afterwards, I was happy to see the report that he doesn't have any serious injuries, so he was super, super lucky. But it was a horrible climate in the beginning to do such a long mountain stage. If you see the guys with rain jackets on and they have 4 or 5 climbs to do, it's like, this is miserable, really miserable. Luckily for the last part of the stage, it cleared up and it was even sunny. But yeah, as you say, we saw a lot, a big group. I was initially convinced, that the breakaway is going to make it. They did in the end. But then we see sometimes a few strange things. One of the things that I remarked is once again, I'm not going to say strange tactics, but the tactics of Ineos. Starting to set the pace, and then Bernal attacks with, in my opinion, way too far from the finish. And on 2 stages, he has paid for it at the end. I personally think Bernal is in really good condition. And I don't actually understand why he keeps doing these attacks, putting his whole team on the front so far out from the finish, because it's never going to work. He's never going to make it to the finish by himself, or even without some of the favorites. He must probably have seen that Ayuso was in trouble. That could be one of the reasons, but it's still not up to him and his team to do that. It would be Carapaz or Visma with Simon Yates, who should increase the pace if they see that one of the favorites is in trouble, in my opinion. So that's a bit of a question mark for me, why they do that. It adds to the spectacle of the race, of course, but it's not very efficient. Also, Spencer, if you think about we're now 16 stages down. Today in one day, the two number one favorites. There was basically when we started the Giro, we were talking. There was nobody else who could win the Giro except Roglič or Ayuso. Roglič is out of the race, and Ayuso is out of the classification. He lost more than 13 minutes today. So it's a lot of things can happen in a Grand Tour, right? And especially in this Giro, the Giro is famous to have a hard last week, but this is extreme. All the mountains and all the difficulties are concentrated in the last 6 stages. So today we saw the first time really big carnage in GC, and this is only a taste of what we still have to go. We still will go. Okay, today was definitely a very hard stage, but there are other hard stages, and the accumulated fatigue. I'm always talking, Spencer, about accumulated fatigue. Today I want to repeat, what I said already many times. I said it on social media. I said it here in the podcast. People need to understand that a Grand Tour is a 3-week effort. It's an effort that you every day need to measure, having in mind that it's 3 weeks. Today is a good example that the last week is it's the people who have raced smart and have, they were biding their time, looking, to conserve energy, and there's people, I'm not going to name it by name, but there's one specific podcaster, for example, who says that, he doesn't believe that efforts and attacks you do in week 1 will have an impact in week 2 or week 3. That's absolutely not true. That's absolutely not true. I mean, I can tell you, and even if cycling has changed, the way they race, the way they train, the way they prepare, a Grand Tour remains a Grand Tour. And it's an effort of 3 weeks. And if you think that the efforts you do in week 1 don't come with a price, then you don't understand anything about cycling. I'm sorry I have to say it, but that's the way it is. And we will see now in week 3. Carapaz, for example, was, I don't think he was one of the big favorites before the race. We haven't seen much from him during the season yet. He came into the Giro. He was straight away. He was in good form, but he was not very prominent. He did one big attack, and I've always said, if you make an attack, it better bring some benefit. And he did one big attack before today, and he won the stage, and he took some time. Right? We haven't seen much else from him since then. He's always been there, but never spent any bullets. Today was a big bullet, and it was very, very good for him. He gained a lot of time, and he's now becoming, in my opinion, the biggest favorite to win the Giro after what I've seen today. But still, we have a week, have 5 or 6 days of racing to go, and a lot can still happen. Today's effort, for example, can be it can be that he pays for it in the next stages. The last week is different, because it's always you race against the 5-6 same guys all the time, right? It's always the best guys in front. So I expect that Carapaz will stay on that level, if not get better, because he's very famous to get better, and he always has a great third week. And let's not forget, he won this race already. It's been a while, but he's been up there, second, third in other Grand Tours. So that was an amazing race of Carapaz today.
It was amazing. And I think I should probably apologize to Richard Carapaz. I thought his GC days were done. I think I've said that multiple times.
Me too.
On the record.
Me too.
He did get 4th at the most recent Grand Tour. He did the Vuelta, the most recent Grand Tour that happened, the Vuelta a España. Mm-hmm. Pretty good result. Thing about Richard Carapaz, he could still, but it'd be funny if he falls apart and we're like, see, that's why you shouldn't attack. He burned too much energy. But this guy is really, even especially in Grand Tours where he has bad luck or he's not in great form coming into the race, he has really good third weeks. And like, think of I'm looking at the 2022 Vuelta. Guy was unbelievable in the third week. Same thing at the Tour last year. Kind of had some stumbles, unbelievable in the third week. I hate to use the word, it's overly general, but class. He's a classy rider because I heard maybe some of his preparation he's not embraced the ultra scientific monkish preparation that it takes to be a modern Grand Tour winner. But my theory for this third week is, okay, maybe he doesn't come in as fully cooked as everybody else, but then things get equalized. And as the race goes on, like his natural class, how many riders can race for 3 weeks? Not very many. There's not many people that can physically win a Grand Tour. And he's just so good in that third week, which would bode well for his chances to win because he's only 31 seconds behind, 5 seconds behind Simon Yates. Still has to beat him, but he looked pretty dang strong today, I'd say. And just his ability to
no
race.
More time trials, which is his weak point. So that's also good.
Yeah. Like this has worked out perfectly for him. Cause I thought too, I was like, well, even if he has a good climbing Grand Tour, he can't time trial and that's going to catch up to him. But it's funny. It's like if they had the same number of time trial kilometers, but spaced differently, maybe it keeps them from winning. But because they got him out of the way early, it kind of all comes out in the wash. I guess anything could still happen. Like, let's just highlight Derek Gee, for example.
Yeah, well, Spencer, I need to apologize to Derek Gee for not believing in his, because yesterday you put him forward as maybe your candidate to win the Giro. I still think that's a stretch, but man, he is riding really strong, very strong. And today he was, he reacted to Carapaz, was not in the wheel, but he didn't lose that much time,
And he was gaining on a kilometer, but quite drastically.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed today, Spencer, is, and there you could see that Del Toro didn't have the legs that we have seen from him until now. It's the first attack that Del Toro didn't jump on the wheel and sat on the wheel. It's the first time in this whole Giro that this has happened. So this was obviously, a sign that he was gonna struggle. I still think he did amazing. Kept his pace. He lost 1.5 minutes on Carapaz. 1:35 today.
1:36, I believe.
Okay. It's a lot, but could have been worse. We'll see now. In the last week what happens with Del Toro. What's clear is that this is changing the whole dynamics of the race in terms of the strategy of UAE. I think they're going to be aggressive with other riders now to wear out. Maybe to try to win a stage, or to wear out the teams of. Visma doesn't really have a team when it's uphill, and Carapaz. EF, they're not the strongest team neither in the mountain stages. So we'll see what that will do now. The Ayuso being out of GC, it's to be seen what's wrong with him. If he can recover and stay in the race and be used to go in breakaways. Personally, I think at some point, I think we're going to lose Ayuso in this race. Once he's out of GC, it's going to be difficult now to mentally bounce back for him, because this guy came into the Giro to win, and until this morning, I'm pretty sure he thought he had a chance.
Well, something's not been right for a few days. Like if you knowing what you know now, if you go back and watch stage 15, it's just like he's at the car a lot. He had the mechanical, but he's kind of taking his time to get back. He's always at last wheel suffering when Del Toro's attacking. Like, I don't know if it's sickness, I don't know if it's the knee, but something's not quite clicking right there.
Yeah. And also, one thing we have to also take into account, I think we can only really judge, especially Del Toro, we'll see tomorrow. How he is. Some people, and this is also something you need to, get experience with, like the day after a rest day is different, especially when it's in the mountains. So some people react differently to a rest day. So this could also be one of the explanations why Del Toro had a bit of a weaker day. I'm thinking more towards his youth and getting really tired right now. But, having no experience with rest days is obviously also something that we have to take into account.
Yeah, the youth, and then even I'm thinking of stage 18, 2018. Simon Yates, been in the lead, been looking fantastic. He loses a little bit of time, like 30 seconds. You're like, oh, but he's still okay. He's still in the race lead. And then the next day he just falls apart. So if I had to put money on it, I would say that. Having said that, you're right. After it's the first day after rest day, and then the beginning of the stage was freezing cold. Like people had 2 pairs of gloves on. That must have affected the riders later. And then you're stripping everything off, and then you're racing hard and it's sunny. Like that has to affect people, especially young riders, maybe not used to that. So I don't know, maybe he's fine, but I would imagine he's gonna. Especially,
Carapaz looks scary strong.
Too.
Carapaz looks scary strong, Spencer,
and he believes. He's seen Del Toro go off his wheel.
There is no doubt in Carapaz's mind that he can win this Giro.
What do you do if you're UAE here? It's such a weird situation because they were on top of the world. They've now completely collapsed, but they're still in the race lead.
They're still in the lead. They haven't completely collapsed. I mean, they're still
emotionally, though, it probably feels like that.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, they're still in the lead. They still have to control the race. That's why I think probably that breakaways will have a chance in the next few stages, but still. They need to believe in Del Toro. He can find his legs back, and he's still in the lead. They still have to take the time back. It's not because he's dropped today that he's going to be dropped every day. I mean, I personally think it's going to come down all to the last to stage 20 to Col di Finestre. I think that's where the Giro is going to be decided.
Yeah, I could see that, especially since, I mean, EF's actually been decently strong at this race, but I mean, all of these teams could rise to the occasion, but like Visma, EF, Israel, like they want this jersey as late as possible if they're going to get it, because what's not interesting. So Egermanal's 6th, 332, 323 back. Does Ineos just keep trying this aggressive racing? Like, how do they adjust?
They need to change. I mean, listen, Egan Bernal needs to race differently. He can't go from that far. It's not gonna. He can eliminate one guy, but then there needs to be enough interest from other riders. So I mean, he can crack one guy, but he's never going to crack all of them in front of him. So he needs to, I don't know. It's strange. He got dropped and then he came back and he was hanging on, and his basic form his endurance is really good because he never really cracks. He can keep going. So I would prefer to see him save himself a little bit in these earlier climbs and try to do it on the last climb.
Yeah, like today's last climb seemed like that was perfect for Egan Bernal. I don't fully get why they're so anxious. They've got ants in their pants. They can't sit still until the final climb. Another just observation: Derek Gee, 4th place, 131 back. I'm obviously very biased for Derek Gee. I'm running the Gee fan club in my spare time, but if he doesn't get caught behind the crashes on stage 9, he loses 2:22 to Del Toro and then about a minute and a half to Carapaz. He's winning this race, right? He's leading this race right now.
Plus, I think he lost almost a minute on stage 1. He started his Giro really bad. Like
he's trying to make it fair for everybody.
I mean, that image yesterday, Spencer, or was it 2 days ago? I don't remember when it was. Obviously not yesterday, 2 days ago, when this crazy fan idiot was running next to the guys with this fox, and Derek Gee is making fun and touching the fox and then I watched it afterwards again. I mean, everybody was on the limit there. They were going crazy fast uphill, and he was joking with this guy. So, that was definitely a sign that Derek Gee has really good legs.
And so one more crackpot theory for you. I'm flying high from my G prediction. Giulio Pellizzari, it won't really ever be remembered because XDS Astana goes 1-2. Pellizzari dropped Richard Carapaz after Richard Carapaz reeled him in, and then he drops him, finishes 15 seconds in front of him. Mm-hmm. Almost wins this stage. Like they started the final climb like 4 minutes behind these leaders. Pellizzari is now 4:36 back. Lost a good portion of that because he's been working for Primož and pulling for him. The rest of the race is climbing. He appears to be the strongest climber in the race.
Well, today.
Should we keep an eye on him? Is he going to keep moving up? And he's like he's far enough back that it's like, what happens
he's gonna
if
keep,
he attacks?
Yeah, he is going to keep moving up for sure. He's in great shape. Now, I see him rather win a stage. He's going to keep moving up, but he can't win this Giro.
I mean, that would be absurd. 21-year-old in the third week coming back to win the Giro. I do hope he wins the stage because I still am sad that he lost that stage last year. I still can't believe Pogačar took that from him in that fashion.
That's the guy who got the pink jersey from Pogačar, no?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. Now I remember, yeah. I was on Monte Grappa.
Wait, wasn't it that in like, are you sure that wasn't in like St. Ulrich where they went over and, because they were down in the valley in like Selva, and then they climb up to a ski resort, and it was just kind of like a stage that shouldn't have been a GC day, but Pogačar pulled everything back.
Could be. I don't remember. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I remember being like, that guy got. he's never going to get over that, but clearly he's gone on to great things. I'm just trying to go through any other notes we have before we move on to tomorrow's stage. I mean, I think we should say Wout van Aert. Probably safe to say he's back. That was a pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in good shape. A big engine like that, just once they get rid of all their troubles, they just keep steady, So we're going to see Wout van Aert in more breaks. Obviously, he has a big task now with Simon Yates riding so well and being in second. So. I mean, if you see today, Spencer, in the third week, he does 510 watts for 10 minutes. There's not many people who can do that,
Well, after being in the breakaway going over, they'd already gone over 1, 2, 3 climbs, like big climbs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to take into account his weight, right? So I mean, he's
75 kilos?
No, he's more. I think he's 77 kilos or something. He's tall, he's very tall. And I think Wout van Aert in the Tour will probably be 75. But he's still a little bit, definitely not overweight, but, that's just his body composition. But still, huge power and maybe Van Aert can be tomorrow in the break too and try to win the stage. Who knows?
I was wondering about that. I mean, just to give people an idea about like how good Pogačar and Vingegaard are. So Van Aert, he posted on the rest day yesterday his like training peaks from the race so far. And I think it was the stage where he got second to Mads Pedersen on the uphill sprint. It was his best all-time 10-minute power, 518 watts. Like, well, that's pretty good. I actually think this 510 is more impressive because it comes at the end of a hard mountain stage. But that 518 at his weight, he's still not going quite as fast from a watts per kilo perspective as Pogačar was on the final climbs of like those Pyrenean stages of the Tour last year. So that's why those guys are really good and no one can challenge them in the GC. Other thing before we move on, XDS Astana wins. I mean, they're clearly getting promoted. This is unbelievable for them.
There's no stopping that anymore, Spencer. That's today, only today, what is it? Or today they got like 200 something points, no? More than 200 points. The stage win is 180.
180 seconds, 130. So that's
okay. So 310. Yeah.
And 310. And I read an interesting article. We don't have to dwell on it here. And some of it sounds silly and like common sense, but apparently they sat down in the off season and they just took everyone's like training files and they're like, this person's good at 5-minute power. let's look at a race where they could utilize that skill and do well and get results. And it's clearly worked. And but I kind of wonder if that will become normal, because normally you wouldn't think like we need every point possible.
Probably. I mean, this is different also for them because they need to go to races where it's easier to score points, right? And they did a great job. But I do know they hired one or two people specifically for this issue, and they designed the calendar based on. I mean, you say to their power output for a certain amount of time, but especially design the calendar to optimize the chances to take points, and it works. But one thing would be that they get the majority of their points in all, like we'll say, Mickey Mouse races, but this is not the case. They're up there in the big races too.
Yeah, and what's weird is, because I would have said that 2 months ago. What's weird is those Mickey Mouse results have almost helped them get results here. And I don't fully know how to explain it, but it's just like given the team so much confidence. And you'd think Scaroni would be fried by now because he was so strong in January and February. But
well, I think Scaroni got saved by his crash in Strade Bianche, and he was out for quite a while. He was unbelievable in the first month and a half of racing. He was almost unbeatable. He was the best rider in the world, actually, at some point, points-wise in this season. But then he got a pretty bad crash. But honestly, I have to say, Spencer, I thought Astana, the way they started the season, I said, well, they won't be able to keep this up for many months. They're still there. They're still very, very strong. Okay, we're only the month of May, so we still have half of the season left, right? But still, amazing job what they're doing, and they're definitely staying in the World Tour, which I would not have wanted to bet €1 on it before the season.
Yeah, I think I said it was impossible, but they're doing it. It's impressive. So let's take a quick ad break. Or before we go, do you think Carapaz is going to win this race overall?
The way I saw it today, I think so. I think so. Yeah. I think he's, based on what we know of how he rides in the last week, usually, we've seen him extremely strong in the last week of Grand Tours when he had some trouble in the beginning of the Grand Tours, and he's out of contention for GC. But listen, if you have these legs in stage 16, there's no slowing down anymore. He's gonna stay at this level, at least, even and with the experience he has and the motivation he has and the mindset, I think he's still going to go faster.
Well, I mean, I guess technically I've picked Eric Gee, but he does have a time deficit. But if we just look at the two guys I think are most dangerous based on form and time, it's Simon Yates and Richard Carapaz. Pretty interesting that they're both Grand Tour winners. So most likely this race will be won by a rider who's already won a Grand Tour. It's like that fits with people that have won Grand Tours tend to win other Grand Tours in the future. Both over 30. So like in a race that we saw, like, oh, the kids are taking over, like a 21-year-old and 22-year-old are going to go in too. I said this was a 2-man race too. So clearly that was a silly statement, but we're probably going to have a 30+ year-old winner of this race.
Well, let's see. We don't know with Del Toro if this was his bad day, and I'm a bit worried though about stage 20 for Del Toro. That's going to be a tough one.
I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a training scientist. I also believe that if you're fatigued and you go to higher altitude, not good for you. And that's what we're doing, which is, it could just get more complicated. But let's take a quick break and then we'll predict tomorrow's stage. This episode is brought to you by Troscriptions. Here's a question to consider. What do you need right now on your path to health optimization? For me, some days it's better focus. Other days it's deeper sleep or just a clean boost without reaching for another coffee. That's why I've been using Troscriptions, a company that's rethinking supplements from the ground up. Their formulas are pharmaceutical grade, physician designed, and delivered in a completely new way. through something called a buccal troche, a small lozenge that dissolves between your cheek and gum and gets to work fast because it bypasses your digestive system and goes straight to your bloodstream. It also makes sure you don't have an upset stomach because you do not have to digest it. Need energy, better sleep, less stress? Troscriptions has you covered, and it's all backed by science, made in the USA and designed to help you feel your best fast. So to take advantage of this completely new way to optimize your health by head to troscriptions.com/themove or enter the move at checkout for 10% off your first order. That's Troscriptions, TROSCRIPTIONS.com/themove for 10% off your first order. Again, Troscriptions.com/themove for 10% off your first order. Link in the show notes. All right, back to the show. All right, so tomorrow, stage 17 is 100. I've lost it, 155 kilometers long. We start to get into what kind of resembles more traditional high mountains. It is only 3 categorized climbs, but it's a lot of elevation gain. It is a total of 3,800 meters. That is a lot of feet. 5th hardest stage in this race by meters gained. And this is one of the easier stages of the 3rd week. That's how hard this 3rd week is. The big highlight is we go over the Motorola, 12.7 kilometers long, 7.6% average. The easy side of it, that's still pretty hard climb. Then we descend down into a valley and we kind of climb up and over a little. It's still a tough climb, 3 kilometers long, 8%. And then we have like a stair step descent down into Bruyneel to finish the stage, which is at the base of the Stelvio. It's going to be tough to actually predict this one. I'll list off the odds on Unibet and we'll get Johan's take on how it's going to play out. Richard Carapaz is the favorite now at plus 1,100. Giulio Pellizzari plus 1,200. Isaac Del Toro plus 1,400, Wout Poels plus 1,400, Tom Pidcock plus 1,600, Romain Bardet plus 2,000, Wout van Aert plus 2,000, Christian Scaroni plus 2,500, Derek G plus 2,500, Marco Frigo plus 2,500, Nicolas Prudhomme plus 2,500, Pello Bilbao plus 2,800. It goes on and on. But the markets think GC day. What do you think, Johan, and who's going to win?
I think breakaway day. You have Passo del Tonale, which is a long climb, not very steep, and then the backside of the Mortirolo, which is, as you say, even if it's considered the easier side, it's still very hard. And then the terrain afterwards is very lumpy, But I think after today's battle, I don't know. I mean, UAE is in pink. They are going to control the GC, but not necessarily the whole race. I don't think so. So I can see a breakaway, a big breakaway. Obviously, it's going to be with climbers. Have to be a climber to win tomorrow's stage. After what I've seen in a few breakaways, and he's been trying a few times, I'm going to pick Pello Bilbao to win the stage. Plus 2,800. He was in the break today. He's going to keep trying. And this is a guy, he's so experienced. He's a veteran and knows how to race and go from breakaways and win from breakaways. So Pello Bilbao plus 2,800 is my pick to win the stage tomorrow from the break.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I mean, it's hard if you're predicting breakaway, it's hard to zero in on a specific rider. I mean, but just looking at this profile, the first thing I thought when I saw this 2 weeks ago, breakaway day, it's going to be hard to control. I don't really know who would want to control it, or like if EF would have the firepower to do so. Pello Bilbao is a good pick. I'm going to go back to the well though, the Romain Bardet well, plus 2,000. I picked him on stage 15. He was actually pretty good on that stage, and I'm just trusting that a rider like that, it's just going to get better and better. Maybe not get better. Everyone else will get worse. The terrain is actually getting better for him. That wasn't a perfect day for him on stage 15. So I'm going to go Bardet from the breakaway.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's in there a lot of times. So I think, Bardet is one of those guys who I think he's in good enough shape to still win one of these stages. Smart rider. So yeah, I like that. My second pick is also going to be a breakaway rider, Spencer, because I think it's If it's GC, it's still going to be difficult because there's going to be attacks amongst each other, and it's difficult. So I'm going to go for the second wave breakaway rider, Marco Frigo, Israel Premier Tech. He's been a few times close already to a stage win. He's plus 2,500. I think he's in good shape. He tried 2 days ago, which was his home region, to go in the break, and he tried for a while and finally didn't make it, but he's going to try again. So he's my second choice to win the stage tomorrow.
I like that pick a lot. Plus 2,500. I don't know if you noticed on that stage, but he saw the breakaway was going to get reshuffled, so he had the strength to just rip off the front and then could be part of the second version of the breakaway. Very hard to do that, so he's in incredibly good shape. My hedge, my wild card, Richard Carapaz, plus 1,100. We think this is going to be breakaway, which means probably something goofy will happen, and it won't be. It's anytime you're it's impossible for it to be GC day. You have to be prepared for the fact that it will be. And I think he's so good at this type of finish. I think part of the reason it won't be GC is because it is so good for Richard Carapaz in the finish, that if you're Simon Yates, why you don't want to bring him to the line with time bonuses. And this could be a tight race. These time bonuses can matter. So I'm going to go Carapaz just in case it happens at plus 1,100.
Okay.
It's just been the Giro of massive odds for the favorite, multiple days where the favorite's been over plus 1,000, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, plus 1,100 for one of the favorites. That's a good price. So
for a rider that we know is probably the strongest rider in the race in the mountains.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Well, anything else? What do you think is going to happen to Del Toro? Does he stay with the group tomorrow?
Yeah, I think tomorrow he's not gonna. Tomorrow's not gonna. It's not gonna happen. It's too far from the finish, and I think. How far is the Mortirolo from the finish?
It's a problem because it's 50 kilometers from the finish.
Yeah, 50K. He's going to have teammates if he gets in trouble. So I think he'll make it back if that was to happen.
Will they all be working for their top 20s though? Actually, it's been a great example of why having 4 riders in the top 10 actually can be not useful.
Yeah,
because it's think of Carapaz, think of Yates. There's just no ambiguity in the team. They're the clear GC leaders. Everyone is kind of bought in. Think of Wout van Aert. It takes a lot of buy-in to do what he did today.
Yeah. Well, I think UAE they should have always. I think it was right to have Ayuso keep going, even with Del Toro in pink, but the others, like Adam Yates and Brandon McNulty, they shouldn't have been. I mean, I haven't checked where they are now, but they shouldn't have been so close in GC. Once you see that you don't have the legs to podium, then you need to make a choice in a team, and having 2 guys for GC is plenty. It already creates problems sometimes. So it makes things easier also with breakaways, because if you have a guy in the breakaway, you can always decide then at the end whether he, tries to hang on and try to go for the stage, or ultimately you call him back because you need him in the group of favorites.
Yeah, I mean, let's say Del Toro does hang on to win this. Presumably it will be close because he's 26 and 31 seconds in front of the rest of the podium. If you go back to stage 11, they're chasing Carapaz, one of the guys that might end up beating him by a few seconds. Brandon McNulty and Adam Yates are doing that chasing, but they don't chase so hard that they blow up. They are preserving their GC positions. Yeah. That would be, if he does end up losing this by a little bit, you'd point to that and say that's where it would be helpful to have guys that are just totally bought in. Let's pull this back because we don't want to give this guy time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking at the Motorola. It is very steep at the top. They say it's the easy side. The last 3K are all over 10% average, and it's very high. It's over 6,000 feet, 1,800 meters. But even if you get dropped there, I mean, it would take such an effort to hold someone off to Bormio. I don't see it happening. I think he stays in the group.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Johan, thanks. And we will be back tomorrow to break this stage down and then predict stage 18.
Okay, Spencer. Speak soon.
All right, bye.